Welcome.
To the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 396 of The Joy of Coding. Oh, it's so good to have you here. My name is Mike Conley. We're going to be live hacking on some Firefox stuff today. I just realized I'm all out of beverages. Like, my tea is empty, my coffee is empty. I'm super caffeinated, but I don't have any liquids in front of me. So this my throat might get a little dry. I apologize. I don't want to really run upstairs and get anything to drink from the fridge, so we'll do my best. I'll do my best. Hey, enough about my problems. Let's start by sharing my screen. Here we go. Hey, it's March 19th, 2025, episode 396. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I think I know what's going to go on today. I think I know what I want to do, roughly. But I don't know how it's going to go. I don't have any pre-written stuff beyond, you're going to see me coming up with stuff on the fly as I write. That's the whole point of this, is it's live hacking, it's live coding, and I'm not like, I don't have a little machine or a stack of paper or a tablet over here with like what I'm going to type out like it was a lecture or something. I'm going to be coding on the fly and doing it as I would normally do it during my day job. So that's the first thing. No plan survives breakfast. Second thing, the agenda that we're looking at. Hey, you might find it interesting to be able to click on some of these links, especially as I like flesh it out. Maybe I'll add more links to bugs or stuff. You can find links to the agenda. It'll depend on where you're watching the stream. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's down in the video description. If you're watching this on Air Mozilla, it's over in the details section over there. And if you're watching this on Twitch, it's down in the channel details. And, as I update the agenda, this little spinning will spin. And if you reload the page, you should get the most up-to-date agenda. There is also an episode guide. I want to quickly plug the episode guide. Hey, are you watching episode 396 and want to know what happened in episode 155? You can read the episode guide, and that might give you a sense of what was going on. In fact, let's go check it out. Let's see what's in the episode guide. What did happen in episode 155? What did I do that day? I was working on these two bugs, and somehow I achieved 13,000% CPU usage and was still able to stream. Apparently. That's interesting. I was still using Evernote back then. Oh, yeah. I was dealing with this performance issue. Did that end up getting closed? Did we close that? No, it's still open. I think we filed this. Some Mac OS thing. And this one. We closed this one. That's the one we closed. So that's good. And I linked to some other stuff. So yeah. You can watch me do some stuff in 2018. You can find all the links in the episode guide. Hopefully some of those links work. All right, what are we doing today? Well, hey, that documentation that we added for customizable UI that we've been working on for what feels like forever, those landed and then they bounced. Before I even talk about that, custom backgrounds. Did you notice I've got this nice custom background on my new tab page here? This is something that just support for this just landed in Nightly. It's not perfect. There's some bugs still, polished bugs and issues with it, but the initial support has landed for having a custom background. I found this one on unsplash.com. It's just a photo someone took of Toronto, a street in Toronto, but I thought it was a nice background, so I added that. How do you get that? If you want to try this out in Nightly, if you're feeling brave and want to give this a shot, you can go to custom wallpaper enabled. If you, where do I want this? I want this in here. If you go to about config in Nightly and set this preference, browser new tab page, activity stream, new tab wallpapers, custom wallpaper enabled to true, then inside of the gear menu here, you'll see a new item here that's like upload an image. And then that will allow you to choose an image from your desktop. Now, currently it's not being uploaded anywhere. It's not, it's being file copied into the profile directory of your Firefox. It's not going onto the network or anything. But what we're hoping to do is use a sync bucket at some point so that it can be securely and privately synchronized between your devices. So it can be one of those things that if you have, a certain preference, it'll synchronize. This is what we're hoping. But that is still to be determined how that'll work. But that's hopefully coming soon. Anyways, custom backgrounds. You can find some pretty that's one of the bugs. I don't know if you can see that flashing. There's some bugs there that we need to work out. But unsplash.com is where I got my current background. I think I just looked for like Toronto, and then you can choose like the license. I wanted free, and then I wanted a landscape orientation, and I think it was one of the it was this one. But there are lots, and you can go to unsplash.com and maybe find some free backgrounds. You can also submit an image if you're a photographer or an image editor, it looks like. Okay, so that's custom backgrounds. Let's now chat a little bit about these customizable UI patches. So customizable UI. We landed some patches. We did all that documentation, and then I was gonna land these three, these were the last three for the modules, but then they got backed out. So those landed last week on the 14th, whatever day that was. I guess that was 14th, so 5 days ago. So Friday, I guess I landed these on Friday, and they got backed out on Friday. And so I have not investigated this yet. I don't know why these documentation changes caused this failure. So let's look into what's going on here. So it was causing multiple failures. Let me pump up the font here so we can check it out more closely. First of all, I'm also not seeing anyone in the chat saying anything. Normally someone might say something. I did a bridge test and it seemed to go through, I think, but I just double checking. Are people out there? Can anyone hear me? Is my audio working? Please, if you're in the Twitch chat or the Matrix, oh, perfect. Craig's saying something. Great, glad to hear it. It was just, the silence was unusual. Craig's giving me the thumbs up. Thanks, Craig. Okay, so why was I backed out? Let's take a look. Now, whenever I'm looking at a backout like this, this is a very helpful set of links coming from one of our sheriffs. Our tree sheriffs, their job is to like notice whenever something in our CI, when we break CI, to back out the patch and then to give us enough information to hopefully investigate and then attempt to reland. So there were some failures here. There's an XPC shell failure and a BC failure, which is very strange because some of these patches were mostly just to add documentation. So I'm very eager to see what we missed or got wrong. So let's take a look. Here's the push with the failures. And yeah, that's a bunch of failures. And here's a failure log. In test unifying extensions migration, why did we fail? Test unexpected fail. Is there a more comprehensive failure reason? Starting test no save state, unexpected. Oh, update for new version is not a function. Did I somehow break? Oh. Did I make this into... What did I do here? Update for new version. Okay, let us rebase our patches. Customizable UI documentation. And we're gonna rebase it onto Bookmark Central. Git rebase Bookmark Central. I think it's just these three that I want. Let's see if it's gonna manage to pull that off, even though it doesn't know that this one landed already. Yay! It skipped some previously applied commits, so that's good. And no, that did not work. That did not work at all. Oh boy. Yeah, so we lost them. That did not work at all because it didn't realize, Git did not realize that those previously applied commits were then backed out. Oh, there's a spammer. There's some spammer on the channel. Feel free to kick with prejudice. So how do we get ourselves out of this mess? Mercurial would have understood this. I don't mean to... Thank you, Danny Cullen. Mercurial would have understood this. So what can we do? Well, let's take a look at reflog. Customizable documentation. I did a checkout to bookmarks. So I think this was the revision. Oh, or was it this one? Git log this one. There it is. This is what this is the set that we actually want. And it's, in fact, it's these three. It's these three. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of this branch name. Get branch delete. Oh, I'm currently checked out. And then I'm going to get rebase onto bookmarks central, and I'm going to say, all right, I just want these three. So weirdly, the base is the one prior, and then I give it this. And I'm on a detached head. Now I'm going to say branch, customizable UI documentation. Maybe I'll do checkout B. Okay, so now we're in a good state. We've rebased. We took those patches. We just took the ones that we wanted, and here we are. So now let's do an artifact build, and let's take a quick peek at what happened to update for new version. So that's inside of customize. What am I doing here? Customizable UI. .sys.mjs. What did I? Oh, it's gone. I changed it to a public name because it's used publicly. I updated it to public, and I guess I did not update this other file. And there are a bunch of uses. These tests use it, and I'll bet you these are the tests that failed. That's what happened. That's what happened. It's so funny to me that we're like importing customizable UI internal. You're not supposed to. Hey, what are you doing? You're not supposed to have that. How'd you even get that? Oh, turns out you can get at customizable UI internal. How'd you get that? How'd you do it? Something inside of head.js. How'd you get that? You're not supposed to have that. Customizable UI internal. Get test. Oh, yeah. Get test only internal prop. That's how we did it. Oh, jeez. Let me just go ahead and bypass encapsulation there. No problem. Okay, let us go ahead and update this. Now, which revision update for new version? I'm going to guess it was the most recent one. Update for new version. No? No. It was... Oh, yeah, it would have probably been this one. Update. No. Update for new version. Update for new version? Seriously? Okay. It must be this one. Update for new version. There it is. There it is. Okay, so we're gonna rebase. We're gonna edit this commit. And this is how I've learned to do this now that I've sort of been relearning Git. Is what I'm going to do is I'm going to rebase bookmarks central. I want to rebase on that interactively, and I want to edit this commit. So what it's going to do is it's going to roll me back to this commit, and then I'm going to go ahead and update all of the calls to update for new version. So that's just these tests. So do a find and replace. Cool. And then here, near, far, near, far. And this test, near, far. And what else did I change around there out of curiosity? I changed define built-in widgets. Is that also? This is one of those, I guess I must have missed this. I mean, this is why you run tests, right? Thankfully, this was caught in our automated tests. Although it's a failure in our tests, not in our code itself. This is not something that would have impacted our users. Other places that need to be updated. Update for new Proton version. We need to get, yeah, that needs to be modified to that. No underscore. And same with this one. And same with this one. What? Oh, is that the same? That's the same file. Okay, and then what was the other thing I updated? Mark obsolete built-in buttons seen. Was that something that was ever run in tests? No. Okay, so let's go ahead and commit and amend. Thanks again, Danny Colin, for taking care of that spammer. Much appreciated. So we're going to continue our rebase. And we'll go ahead and build. And then I'm going to run the tests. We're going to run the tests. All of them. And we're going to make sure that we didn't break the world. Mock test browser components customizable UI test. But we'll do it headless so we don't have like a bunch of stuff jumping out at us, hopefully. We might see some like menus flicker by. All right. So that's that. Oh, I saw a failure there, whatever that was. Type error. Place new default widgets in area is not a function. Was that another thing I updated? Let's go back. Clearly, I should have run the tests. I renamed that function. Place. And where's that used? Place is in this one test. You know what I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna ask if there's like, I'm gonna look for all of the places where, sorry, we use this string. And it's just these. Update for new version, update for new Proton version. I think we got them all. I think we got them all. All right. So let's redo what we were just doing. Commit, amend. Git rebase continue. Mock build faster. I wonder why Git autocomplete works for you but not for me. It takes so many seconds to autocomplete on our code base that I always have to cancel it, says Neurotor. You know what? I also dealt with some autocomplete stuff, but I found, like, when I first switched, and there was something I had to do. What did I do? I did something, and that made things faster. I remember finding Git autocomplete slow. Yeah, on ZSH, I added this, I think. And it's specific to ZSH, which is the default shell, I think, on Mac OS now. So I think I added this to my RC. Let me just double check that. My ZSH RC. Yes, I did add that to my ZSH RC. So if you're using Neurotor, if you're using ZSH as your shell on Mac OS, which you probably are, because I believe that is the, yeah, I believe that's the default. Yeah, what I'll do, let me put that slow Git autocomplete on ZSH. Here's the dealio. And I'll put that link in the chat as well. There you go. And so when I put that in and then restarted my shell, infinitely faster. Infinitely faster. Now it's not perfectly fast. Like if I do like git add browser, like there's a little bit of sluggishness there, but it's certainly better than what was happening before. It was like many seconds. Do you have any completion cache set? Not that I'm aware of. I mean, maybe Git has one internal. I haven't done anything super special. Full cards on the table. If you've not seen the stream before, I was like a diehard Mercurial user for years and years and years. And it's only been in the past couple of months that I've transitioned to using Git because Mozilla's Firefox code base, like we're transitioning to using Git rather than Mercurial to host our code base. It's a shame. I love Mercurial and I prefer Mercurial, but this is the way the cookie crumbles. So I'm kind of learning. But I haven't done anything super special. But this thing that I did for the ZSH shell, that is something I remember doing. And I don't remember doing anything else special with like a completion cache or anything like that. One thing I think I talked about last time that I am interested in doing is learning and getting my feet wet with something called Jujitsu, which is, maybe you heard me talk about it last week, and I don't want to restate all of the things, but basically it is a way. It's a new VCS, but it can use Git as its backend. So you can like use it as a front end to talk to Git. And if it takes a lot of good ideas from I've been putting off setting up for MC. Yeah, me too. I should really, you know what? Maybe we should learn it together. Maybe that's what we'll do next time. Maybe let's learn JJ together. Maybe we'll do that next time. We're not quite at episode 400. And I want to do the Rust thing for 400, but maybe we can do that next week. But yeah, this is like, if you are a Mercurial person and if you dislike the Git interface as much as I do, Jujitsu might actually, Jujutsu? I thought there was an I in there. Huh, what do you know? Jujitsu might be the tool for you. It takes a lot of good ideas from Mercurial and other VCSs, apparently. It uses Git as an optional backend, so that's nice. So you can use it on a Git repository without wrecking that Git repository. Okay, so what's going on? What am I doing? So we fixed that thing. I built, and now let's run the tests again. And while that's running, we can start thinking about this Rust stuff again. So quick sort of recap. We have this module, filter adult, in the new tab code base, filter adult. And all it's doing is, it's like a glorified set where the set's contents are a like base64 encoded MD5 hashes of domains for sites that are considered adult websites. And the reason we do this is so that you don't get surprised if you happen to have visited an adult website. We never want to show you things that may embarrass you on the new tab page. So what we do is, before we calculate the top sites, and there used to be a section down at the bottom. We still support it, but I think we're getting rid of it because like no one uses it. But there used to be like a recent activity sort of area on new tab. Before we display any of those things, we like run it through the adult filter to make sure that like if you happened to have been to some adult websites, for who knows, maybe you had a legitimate, like, I'm not gonna judge. It's your web browser. You go where you want. But we don't want you to be embarrassed if you open up new tab and Firefox is like, hey, remember this site you were at? And you were like, I don't know, you're standing next to your boss or something. Why are you using that work computer for visiting at? Maybe you had a legitimate reason. Who's to say? It's not my job to say, and it's not Mozilla's job to say, but we do want to protect you from that kind of embarrassment. So before we calculate, or after rather, we calculate a bunch of items that might show in top sites, we run it through this filter so that, embarrassing sites don't show up on the new tab page for you. And Android and iOS have the same problem. But I don't know what solution they use, but it shouldn't be necessary to bespoke recreate that mechanism once for desktop, once for iOS, and once for Android. We might be able to share this. And as this is something that is fairly small and well contained, we can potentially port this. And what we had done at the end of last week, I believe it was only in like the last 15 minutes, is we were taking a look at application services. This is the repository on GitHub where Rust components that are shared between Firefox for iOS, Firefox for Android, and Firefox for desktop, this is where they live. And I think we had gotten as far as like test not found. And we failed a test. What test did we fail? Failed one. What test did we fail? Fail. Application shut down without crashing. Test fail. Timed out in the middle of a test. All right. Let's run that. No, what mock test? We cannot share JS modules, asks Neurotort. Now, normally, yes, there are certain JS modules we can share between desktop and Android, but on iOS, we don't have Gecko. We have WebKit. We are wrapping iOS's web view. And also, the new tab page on Android is special in that, for performance reasons, we don't render it. It's not like a web page being rendered by Gecko on Android. It is a native application service, a native UI Android-wise. And that is sort of a perceived performance optimization so that when you launch Firefox for Android, we can show you the new tab page right away while we're still booting up Gecko in the background. Because it takes a couple, like you booting up a whole rendering engine. So that takes a couple of seconds, even on like fast hardcore phones. It takes not seconds, but hundreds of milliseconds maybe. And we want to be able to not show you like a splash screen. So instead, we show you a natively rendered homepage. And that natively rendered homepage does not run JavaScript. In fact, none of the UI in Firefox for Android, as far as I understand, runs JavaScript. Unlike the Firefox for desktop, which we use JavaScript because the Gecko is rendering both the parent UI and the content. On Android, it's just the UI is rendered in using native Android, and there may be some JavaScript modules it's using, but I think it has to marshal it through a Gecko process of some kind because Android doesn't have a JS engine that understands XPCOM or Gecko stuff. So like we have to sort of like marshal stuff out to a Gecko process to get things done. So whenever you write a module like filter adult in Rust, what you can do is use this tool called Unify. And what this does, I apologize if I'm repeating myself. What this does is it allows us to create bindings for our different application environments. So for a Firefox for Android, that would create Kotlin bindings. So it allows the Kotlin native code. That's like the Java variant kind of. Kotlin is some kind. As I understand it, Kotlin is like run on the JVM, the JavaScript Java virtual machine. It's not Java, but it is like a thing that the JVM can interpret. And there are bindings to the Rust module that you write to Kotlin. And so the native Kotlin code can talk to your module. Similarly, Swift bindings are created. So Swift can talk to Rust, the Rust module. And then for Firefox for desktop, we wrap it in like this XPCOM gunk. And then our JavaScript, both our native JavaScript and our C++ can talk to the Rust module. Does it get compiled to Java bytecode? I actually don't think it does. I think what happens in the Kotlin case is that Unify generates scaffolding that allows Kotlin to talk to the native library. Because like you can do that in Java. You can talk to a native library. You can talk to an external like stuff written in a different language through. That's what FFI stands for. Foreign Function Interface. That's what FFI stands for. If you've ever heard the term bindings, that's usually what bindings means. It's glue between two different languages. In my experience, that's what bindings means. It allows the languages to talk to one another. And so, that's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. So that test passed when we ran it on its own. I think we're in better shape now. I do want to run the marionette test just to be sure. So we'll run that one. I don't think we can do that one headless. So we'll run that test real quick. Boom. All right, we're in great shape. So go ahead and push these up, rebase, fix some fix some tests that were calling into methods that had been renamed. And then I will say upstream central. And then I think we should be able to reland these. And what I want to do is get rid of the... Is there a leave open keyword? No, there isn't. I think we can just go ahead and land these. Messages on Moz Fab Submit. What? Yeah, what that's doing is it's making it so that this gets added as a comment inside of the revisions. Yeah, it's helpful. Fern of Sigma writes, what are your thoughts on the character limit on Git message headers? I guess it forces you to try and be concise. I'm not the biggest fan, to be completely honest. No one should be writing like a huge book for the header for a commit. What you should be writing is a very, very short description, just like this is the headline of what this change is doing. And then following that, if the commit needs it, is as much text as you require in order to explain what it is that the change did. I know that might seem boring to some people, like the patch should speak for itself. I encourage you to write good commit messages with the assumption that years in the future, it's going to be you who has to read it. And trust me, you don't want to have to go like, oh, who wrote this patch? Oh, I wrote this patch. What was I even thinking? And then you're like leafing through the patch and trying to understand why you did what you did, or why someone else did what they did. Give whoever is in the future a gift and be very clear in your commit message of what you did, why you did it, and like what else, what are the assumptions, like really pack that commit message. There's a doc, so I used, I still hang around with these people, but like, so I used to contribute to this project called Review Board, which is a web-based code review tool. And there's a really good blog post from Writing Good Commit Messages Review Board. I think there's an article on here. Writing Good Commit Messages. Christian Hand. Is it here? Get right here. Oh boy. Where is... Well, there's plenty of articles on writing good commit messages. And give yourself the gift. Give yourself the gift. All right, let's try and reland these things. So I'm going to change the parent revision to no longer rely on that thing that landed. Review Board Visual is stuck in the 2000s. You know what? The web page does have kind of that sort of classic aesthetic. The application itself, I don't know if I agree. I like it's distinctive, but it's balancing image, like it's balancing information density and usability, and it's just trying to like get to the root of. It's trying to present all the information that you need to review code. If you want to see a really, it's primarily the typeface. Oh, I see. Yeah, I don't know. What is this, Verdana? I don't know what typeface this is. I love Review Board. It was one of my first things that I worked on as an open source contributor. Yeah, it's Verdana. What else did I want to show you? Oh man, you want to see? I don't know if this is still the case. Code Collaborator. Code review tool. Is that who? Smart Bear. It was like Smart Bear Code Collaborator. There. This is the tool that I think is a little stuck. This tool. This was one of the competitors with Review Board back in the day. This is who we were competing against, and I think we beat them soundly. But yeah, like the look at that, very information dense. And like, take a look at Garrett. Garrett code review. It's not that different. Let's see one. Let's look at example code reviews. Let's take a look at Garrett's own code reviews. Like, I can't say that any code review tool looks amazing, but you know, I think Review Board's just as good or maybe even better than Garrett in terms of UI. Bugzilla, I mean, I've gotten used to it, but like Bugzilla's UI is, I find, it's information dense certainly, but maybe I'm just used to it. I don't know. Who's to say? Who's to say? Does it, you know, does it help me get my job done? Absolutely. I agree that bugzilla.mozilla.org isn't bad. Like stock Bugzilla is a little more rough. I would agree. Like let's take a look at stock Bugzilla. Oh, you know what? I think they've upstreamed a lot of what's in bugzilla.mozilla.org. It used to look a lot more rough, but I think they upstreamed a lot of it. Oh, this is Alizom. So what does like a stock release look like? Let's take a look at Apache's Bugzilla instance. Oof. See, this is back in the day. This is back in the day, Bugzilla. How about Apple's for WebKit? See, okay, they've customized it. It looks better. Let's take a look. You know, that looks pretty good. It's a little CSS is hard, gang. But yeah, it's not bad. Bugzilla is quite customizable. What are they using for code reviews, I wonder? God, I'm curious. What's been closed? Resolve fixed. Oh, I see. In this case, they use GitHub. They just link to GitHub from it. So they're using GitHub to host the code, but Bugzilla as their bug tracker. Is that true? Yes, it looks to be the case. Fascinating. Fascinating. Whoa, did I just see that correctly? Yeah, I know that fella. Etienne is at Apple now. Good for you, man. Working on WebKit. All right, let us land these things. Preview landing. Go ahead. Stable is still 5.2. That's why. Oh, presumably by stable you mean what we saw on Apache. Apache Bugzilla. Is this, what is this? I don't know what version this is. How do you find out what version this is? Does this say? Please no. Search reports, new question mark. How do I find out which version of Bugzilla this is? Ooh, Yui. Which version is this? Who's to say? Who's to say? Top right corner of the page for Apache. Oh, there it is. Yeah, version 5.2. Stable is still 5.2. Gotcha. And Harmony, presumably, is what Alizom is using. Bugzilla Dev? Because this is what I'm used to. And what version is this? Doesn't even say. How do you find out what version this is? Bugzilla. How do you find out what version this is? Oh boy. Who's to say? Who's to say? All right. Well, anyways, we're getting distracted. Let us think about Rust. So, one of the things we did last week was we checked out the code. We were on main, and we tried running the tests. And as I recall, they did not go well. We ran cargo tests, and then like we saw a bunch. Oh, failed to run custom. This is different. Oh, you know what? I think there was a thing I needed to do in my environment. Like I needed to like say a thing about NSS, system level dependencies. Yeah. I needed to like set an environment variable. And I think I set it in that one terminal. Tools. Looks like I didn't. What is HRC? ZSHRC. Yeah. So I want to add. Wherever I put GYP, where did I put it? Tools, did I put it? Put it there, okay. So let me just add that. Export path equals projects. Projects, GYP. Path. All right. And now let us reload. Okay. And now can I cargo? Oops. Build failed. Failed to run custom build. Process didn't exit successfully. Build script. Thread made. NSS dir env must be set. NSS dir env. Mozilla Application Services. NSS dir. What are you talking about? Analog development. Analog test. Building. I think that should be good. So then let's clear out. Where would the build be? Let's blow away the build. Where do builds go when you write and build things with Rust? Is it compiling? Like, is there build scripts? Didn't we do this successfully last time? I feel like cargo clean should clean it. Thank you very much, just 1602. My man. Cargo test. So it compiles a bunch of stuff. So it builds a bunch of stuff. And then we explode because failed to run custom build command. Rerun if env changed NSS dir. There is no NSS dir. Rerun if env changed. Okay. And I presume I'd get that always. Yeah. So it's gonna, okay. What if I pull, let's pull the recent stuff. Did I build NSS? That's a great question. How do I know? How do I, do I need to like, make sure. How do I build NSS? Application server, and then just NSS dir environment. You are missing. We typically set that manually, but the libs verify. Oh, this thing. Yes, verify. That's the thing I remember running. That's what I remember running. And why didn't it tell me to do that? Did I just miss it? Aha. So did I miss that somehow? Ah, check dependencies. So this is what I failed to notice, is that 3 is broken up into all these steps, and I didn't do 4 or 5. I need to do this part. Build all. I think I need to do this part. What? In libs. Okay, done. And then, what was it that it wanted me to do? It was like, add these to my shell environment. So I add these to my shell environment. Okay, reload my shell environment. Looks good. Okay, cargo test. Hey, there we go. Thanks for your help, everybody. That was very helpful. All you Rust pros. I am such a Rust newbie, but I'm hoping you all and we can kind of learn together. Building, good. Building's good. Did we land? Did the patches land? Where's the tree at? Tree is just waiting for coverage. Okay. Building, building, building. Building, building, building. I guess while we're waiting for that, we can spend some time reading more about application services and how to write a component, contributing. Okay, this is a bunch of preamble on like how you can contribute, how to build the project. That's what we're doing right now. There are good first issues and paper cuts and stuff. How to send a pull request. That'll be necessary later whenever we decide. I'm really just kind of trying to explore. Ooh, now we're doing more building. Okay. And then this is instruction. This is what we just followed. We're building for desktop. How to test Rust components. That's what we're doing right now, actually, is we're running cargo test. And then now here we go. We're running a bunch of tests. So far, everything's looking okay. End-to-end sync tests currently disabled. Okay. And then dependency management. The repository uses third-party code from a variety of sources, so we need to be mindful of how those dependencies will affect our consumers. Considerations include general code quality, licensing compatibility, handling of security vulnerabilities, and the potential for a supply chain compromise. Okay, look, this is what I remember from last time as well. There are like test failures here, like full-blown test failures. Test remote settings, empty search, config records throws, error, standard add thread selector. Error parsing URL, relative URL without a base. Is there a... If we look in here, this is a quick scan, Sentry invalid scheme. Did I do something wrong with setting up my testing environment? Relative URL without a base. Pull request. Is there something to fix it? Update to clean. Closed. Is there a CI system that they use? I think I read something just now about CI. Circle CI. So where's there like, is there like a way that I can see what the current build state is? CI. We use stable Rust. CI spin to whatever version is currently on Mozilla Essential. You should use Cargo for building and testing. Task cluster runs every pull request. Task cluster. Okay, so there's presumably... Oh, and Circle CI runs on every branch, pull request, and release to execute lint checks and automated tests on the Rust and Swift level. Oops. Engineering. So where do I see the state? How do you see the state, the build state? Oh boy. Very interesting. Well, maybe we can ignore these failures for now. These are not, we just pulled and built. So I don't know why these are failing, but I don't want to get bogged down there. So let's read up on how we can add a new component. So we were reading about dependency management. Unlike Firefox, Rust code does not vendor third-party source code directly into the repository. Instead, we rely on cargo lock and its hash validation to ensure that each build uses an identical copy of all third-party crates. Okay. Adding a new dependency, whether I like it or not, is a big deal. That dependency and everything it brings with it will become a part of Firefox branded products we ship to end users. We try to balance this responsibility against the many benefits of using existing code as follows. Be conservative in adding new third-party dependencies. For trivial functionality, consider just writing it yourself. Remember the cautionary tale of LeftPad. Check if we already have a crate in our dependency tree that can be provided as needed functionality. Prefer crates that have a high level of due diligence already applied, such as crates that are already vendored in Firefox, crates from Rustlang Nursery, and crates that appear to be widely used in the Rust community. And check that it is clearly licensed and is MPL2 compatible. Take the time to investigate crate source and ensure it's suitably high quality. Be wary of uses of unsafe dev dependencies. You know, requires much scrutiny as dependencies that will ship and consuming applications. Still given some thought. There is still a potential for supply chain compromise of dev dependencies. Part of the RPR pull request that introduces a new dependency. Okay, So that's all fairly reasonable. Currently depend on local builds of the following system dependencies: NSS and SPR, SQL Cipher, and Protobuf. Adding a new component. This is a rapid-fire list for adding a component from scratch, generating Kotlin/Swift bindings. Your component should live under components. So you can. This is how you create one. So let's create a branch. Let's just do something dumb. Create a branch called filter adult. Now, what is the convention here? Components. I think it's. Are they underscored? Yeah. They're. Well, this one's got a dash. This one's underscored. This one's got a dash. This one's underscored. Oh boy, this one's got dashes. I don't know what the convention is. What's the most recent one? Search. Underscores. All right, I'll use underscores. So I'm gonna, and this suggests underscores. So I'm gonna do what it says in the documentation here. Create a new lib, filter adult. Hooray! See the guide to building Rust component for general advice on designing and structuring the actual Rust code. And following the dependency management guidelines and create introduces a new dependencies. Now, the only dependency I can think of, if we take a look at the source of filter adult, we need to be able to do an MD5 hash on some string and base64 encode it. And then we need basically a set. We need a notion of a set, a mutable set that we can add or remove things from. So let's figure out, does Rust have an MD5? Is that part of the standard library? It's create MD5. Is MD5 already used in here? Git grep MD5. Use MD5 in URL hash for relevancy. Fantastic. So it sounds like it's already used. So quit. Cargo.lock MD5. Not in here. Where does this come from? Create MD5. MD5 create. Who used it? URL hash. Where is that? As from URL hash, sorry. Use MD5. Rust use MD5. Is it part of like the standard library? Show the cargo toml again. Git grep MD5. Oh, was it named MD-5? Git grep MD-5. Aha! There it is. MD-5. Now, why is that? Why was it named MD-5? Cargo. Elephant C. Why would they? Why? But why? But why? MD5. Why? Why? Okay, Rust Crypto, pure Rust implementation of MD5. It's MIT license, that's great. From Rust Crypto. Okay, well, at least we've got MD5. That's great. Now, how do we base 64 in code? And do we need to base 64 in code? Request has result as ASCII base 64. Why do we base 64 it? What is the output of an MD5 hash? MD5 is supposed to return. My ears were ringing, says Just Dave 72. Did I? Are you the one responsible for MD-5? Why? MD5 returns bytes. That's why. So I'm from. Last time I used MD5 was probably in like 2005. And what I recall is MD5 would return almost like a SHA. MD5 example. Hash function producing 128-bit hash value. And like, yeah, totally compromised. Do not use this for. So yeah, this is what I remember: is it would produce things that look like that. Base. Oh. Oh, digests, message digests represent a sequence of 32 hexadecimal digits. I see. Because base 64 decreases the size of it. Oh, Just Dave, you're the Bugzilla guy. Oh, Just Dave, you're my hero. You're my hero. Thank you for all your work on Bugzilla. We were just looking at how good Alazom's instance of Bugzilla looked. Like it sounds like you're working on getting stock Bugzilla updated to look kind of like modern bugzilla.mozilla.org, which I think is such an improvement over 5.2. So I just wanted, if you have ever used Bugzilla before, Just Dave is in the chat. All praise to Just Dave. Okay, so MD5 algorithm is specified messages consisting of any number of bits, is not limited to multiples of 8 bits. Some MD5 implementations, such as MD5 some might be limited to octets. They might not support streaming for messages of an initially undetermined length, so it's not that helpful. Let's take a look at the MD5 definition here for the crate. Let's look at some examples, maybe, of it being used. Yeah, look. Acquire hash digest in the form of a generic array, which in this case is the equivalent U8, 16 bits. And what we were doing before, this is a base 64 encoding. I guess that's smaller? I guess that's smaller. And I guess that's worth it? It seems kind of dumb. They all have the same last two characters. It's probably hex. You can use that or just compare raw bytes, but in JS, that's just not what people do. It's bizarre. I don't know why that's necessary. But let's pretend that we're gonna base 64 encode these things. So this is how you create a hasher, and then you supply it some input, and then the result is whatever you get back from finalize, which is presumably some slice of a string, and then you can compare it with this hex value. Maybe that's what it is. MD5 produces a bunch of bytes that you can then compare with hex. This is a hex representation. This is a hex string. This isn't just alphanumeric characters. This is a hex string. Whereas base 64, this is like all the letters. This is an alphanumeric representation. So it can be more compact, I guess. In Rust, you can just hard code the byte arrays, says Neurator. True. And what do you get back from MD5? 128 bytes? Bits? 100. What do you get back out? You get 128 bits, which is 8, 16, 32. It's 8 bytes. Each one's 8 bytes. So you could really just U8 16. You just read it. Is it 8 bytes? No, there's 16 bytes. 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. It's 16 bytes. That's what it is. And this is presumably much more than that. 16 bytes. This is like if each character is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, more than that. So yeah, we could just store the bytes statically. That's interesting. Not in hex as a string. So that's something we can consider. And then what about base 64 encoding? Presumably that, well, I guess we don't really necessarily need to do that, but just in case we want to do this in kind of a silly way, base 64 Rust. Is this crate base 64? And does that exist already in here? Base 64? Yes, it does. So we already have the ability to do both of these things. Now, what is the Rust equivalent Rust set? Standard lib. Standard, do they have the notion of a set? Vec, what is vec? Is that a vector? It's a continuous growable array type. Well, yes, it should be growable, but for the most part, this is a static list. It's only when we're testing that we actually grow or shrink the list. Hash set is what Neurotor says. Hash set. Standard collections hash set. Here's how you use a hash set. You insert into books, which is some hash set, and then you check to see if it contains. Okay, then you can remove it. Okay, that seems okay. So what we might actually need, let's suppose, for example, that we can like take these and produce just the bytes, just the 128 bytes. Or no, the 16 bytes, the 128 bits. The 16 bytes, not 128, the 16 bytes from each of these. And then that's maybe what we will statically define inside of, in DuckDuckGo you can do bang rust set, for example, and it will search directly in the rust stand lib doc. No, that's cool. Thank you, just 1602. Have that static set in the source, and then just do the hash set lookup. That seems relatively straightforward. So what we could do is, I'm going to start by taking all of these base 64 encoded. Well, what do we have for utilities? Like, do we have the ability to create utilities in here? I imagine we would. There's source, there's like some kind of utility that can be used to help generate the source. And you can like maybe it would export a static Rust file, a Rust file that could then be linked statically into the library. Okay. So here's my thinking so far. Let's think this through. Write a tool that can take a list of base 64 encoded MD5 hashes and produce a Rust file, Rust .rs file that that has those hashes defined as raw bytes and can be linked into the library. Right. Then probably modify that tool afterwards to accept a list of base domain strings rather than base64 encoded MD5 hashes, so that we can easily update the list. So we're kind of like bootstrapping the original collection here. And then design and write the library. It should expose. What does it need to expose? It should ideally just expose the following functions. Yeah, filter, which accepts a, well, so what's it doing? It takes a URL. Oh, an array of links. Filter adult. Filter. Let's look at it. Being tested. Link is not a string. This is wrong. It is not accepting a string array. It's accepting an object array with a URL param, a URL property. So really all it just needs to do is check presence, which is also what this is doing, checking presence. Instead of doing the MD5 hashing here, I think we should just actually pass the base domain across the wire to the library. The library will do the MD5 hashing on its side and check its set and return true or false. So really that's it, and then add or remove. That's what we need. We just need a function that we just need a check function, or is adult URL URL function, and then we need a add domain to list, and then remove domain from list for testing. Although presumably the testing can be done. We're basically moving I see, add domain. Yeah, I guess we can keep this. Some of this we're going to want to add as a Rust test for our component. Just the fact that you can like add a fake domain, and then do we really want to expose that? Do we want like a canary domain maybe? Test adult site URL. What is it? Someadultsite.com. Yeah. We only ever add that one, and we only ever do it in this test. Oh no, that's not true. Add domain to the list, load blocked URL, false. So I guess we should expose that. Okay. That seems like a plan of attack. So let's now look at how bytes, static bytes in Rust. How do you represent those? A byte literal. What is a byte literal? Static U8. So static U8. Static. How do I do this? How do I do this? Byte slice constant. Static. And really what I want is like static U8 vector that I then insert everything into the hash map. Static U8 vector. So this is one way of doing it. That's an array of bytes. Here's how you create a vector of things. So maybe and then how do you export something from a Rust module? There'd be like Vim. Where am I right now? Filter. I'm looking for like maybe a prior pre-existing example. Solar types. Here we go. These are enums. These are like interfaces, structs, defined structures. Okay. Configuration types. Again, structures. Okay. Did I look at filter? I did look at filter already. Yeah. Structures, implementation. Places. History, hash, import FFI, storage types, util. These are just like fancy functions and then a test for them. Import iOS module common. Okay. Git grep vec. Oh. Body and lib, let body equals vac u8. Okay. Body, so vac body equals, so it creates this, and that's a test. Okay. Neurator says, oh, just what 1602 says, depending on what you need, you may be able to use the include str macro that will load the file at compile time. Oh, so this is interesting. Byte hashes, static byte hashes. Where are we zipping? Zip. Oh, that's not like the zip compression format. This is just a way of iterating. Zip. Oh, that's nice. fun way of iterating two things. Very cool. Very cool. Base 64 standard. Where is that coming from? Base 64 standard. I don't know where that is. Decode. I guess maybe we're including it from here. Decode this, and then unwrap decode H from base 64 and go to MD5 hatches. And then we assert that these equal this. I see. That makes sense. And then someone was talking about using include str, but I don't want to include, this is what I want, the static byte hashes. I don't want to include them as strings. Static byte hashes is fine. And then presumably I can import the static byte hashes. So there's like the library. Where is there an example of utilities that are kind of peripheral that the libraries then use? Build scripts, automation, Megazord. What is a Megazord? I don't know what a Megazord is. Testing tools. What's tools? Build book, Nimbus Gradle plugin, dependency center, protobuf generator. Those don't look like tools for individual components. Components, external glean, tools. Oh, I have a feeling that's because we're inside of a submodule. Yeah. Util. Support Nimbus source util. How do I like? I want this to like be able to compile two things. I want to be able to compile our utility. Well, actually, do I? I do. There's no Python. No shell script. It's all Rust. So where do I put utilities for this thing? Are there examples of utilities? Like Bootstrap utilities. Find. What's the in Rust, how does main work? Functions, main, hello world. Yeah, what's the hello world? It's function main. Examples, places build. Generate test data. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Okay, this is what I want. Okay. So we've got an example here of a utility that's used not for the component itself. So they had a bin directory, and presumably when we built, where are the built artifacts? Where are the built artifacts? Neurotor. What are you saying now, Neurotor? Bin, generate test data. So yeah, that's kind of what I want. Yeah, good stuff. Where are the built artifacts? So example, how do I run Generate test data. Is there a binary somewhere? Find generate test data. Is it with underscores? There it is. Target. That's what it is. Target. Yes. Just 1602 coming in just in time. Target. Run binary name. Cargo. Run generate test data. Has no idea what I'm talking about. How about target debug generate test data? Okay. I don't know what that did. Generate test data, which goes through each interest and then writes to a file called test data. Right, so yeah, there it is. Okay, cool. So what they must do then is they run it in the directory cargo run bin binary name. Okay, so here's what I'm guessing happens is you go, say you're updating their test data, then they'll go relevancy they'll be in here and they'll go like, oh, target debug generate test data, and then that will recreate the test data. That's my guess. Okay, I think we've got ourselves a rough plan. And what we're gonna do, just to review, is maybe next week we'll focus on jujitsu. But what I want to do is write a tool that will accept the base64 MD5 hashes to also, and then have it. We're gonna write a similar test that Neurotor did, where you're testing a fixed set of hashes and make sure that they're encoded correctly, that we got them correctly generated, and then this doesn't have like a test, but maybe it should. And then what will happen is we'll write a test for that utility. Then we'll alter the utility to also accept just raw strings, and that'll be an argument maybe that you can pass to the binary. It's like what format is this thing in? Then we'll run the utility against a file that we generate that contains the base set of adult sites here. And then that will be a bytes array that we can then import into our utility. And then we can do the fun stuff, which is we will write the interface that allows us to check against that byte. We're going to basically initialize by inserting everything in that byte array into a hash set. And then we'll expose a way of checking the presence inside of that hash set. And then the ability to add or remove a domain from that hash set. That's the plan. But maybe next week we'll learn we'll learn some jujitsu instead. Also, our utility can use what was the thing called? Relevancy components generate test data utility as an example to work from. Don't forget to write out the list in clear text on stream. Oh yeah, sounds great. I never want to do that. I'm not going to do that. We're very much white gloving this. This needs to be able to be broadcast on rated G. So these are just bites. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to call it there. Thanks so much for watching episode whatever this was, 396 of The Joy of Coding. Next week will be episode 397, and maybe we'll learn some jujitsu together. Just 1602 just wrote, for jujitsu I'm not done yet, but this is a good tutorial. Maybe we'll use this as our tutorial. I know Steve Klabnik. Maybe we'll work through Steve Klabnik's tutorial together next week, and we'll figure it out together. But until then, courage. So have yourselves a great couple of weeks, or great week. I should be back next week. I should be streaming next week. And I'll see you then. So thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.